Recently, I've been exploring a region in Arizona that's home to many cliff dwellings dating back more than 700 years ago. Well, today I'm back in the area and I'm going to be using my drone to explore these cliffs and see if we can find any signs of the ancient people. Following that,
I got the coordinates from another content creator, and he was telling me that somewhere up there in them mountains, there is a really unique set of ruins. We're gonna save that for last, but on the way up there, we're gonna fly the drone around all these little ravines and crevices and check out all these little alcoves because the terrain here is just so incredible.
as beautiful as these landscapes were, and as hopeful as I was that I'd make a discovery, I had to make a conscious decision. The wind was draining my battery and compromising my drone's stability and accuracy. The DJI Mini 4 Pro can withstand winds up to 24 miles per hour, but, as I've stated in the past, just because it can, doesn't mean you should. It'd be one thing if we were flying in an open field at a lower elevation, but let's be honest, where I'm flying now isn't exactly a padded room. Now this drone does have 360-degree obstacle avoidance, but at these wind speeds, the collision sensors are pretty much useless. Due to the natural formation of these cliffs, it seemed to be funneling strong gusts of wind in different directions, and I didn't want to risk crashing my drone and having to cut the adventure short, so I decided to pack up here and head further up the mountain. Mark my words though, we are definitely coming back to this location at a later time. Hopefully when it's not so windy, because if I crash my drone, then this channel is f***ed.
If you look right in the center there, that little dark spot, could be nothing, could be something. But one thing I do know, if this was thousands of years ago and I was living up there, I would have the advantage with the high ground and I would be able to look down there and check out the lake and see how much water's down there. And if there were any intruders, you would have one hell of a view to see anyone coming up from the bottom here. I shouldn't have any trouble flying up there. Let's go! Just had to get out for a minute and take all this in. All this desert beauty. Sort of reminds me of Zion National Park in southwest Utah, only not quite as big and not quite as red. But it's so amazing. And this is only about 2.5 hours northeast of Phoenix. We just made the turnoff to where these ruins are, and funny thing, someone that follows me on social media told me about these ruins, and I've actually been out to this area, I want to say a couple of times, but I had no idea there were ruins out here. But one thing I do remember about coming out here is the road was a little bumpy, so hopefully we can make it all the way through. I mean, it's maintained pretty well for the most part. There's just a lot of big rocks sticking out of the ground. But if all goes well, and we don't die, we should be there in about 10 minutes.
Alright folks, I'm not gonna lie, this was a pretty sketchy road. There were many rocks half buried in the ground, and when I wasn't trying to avoid those obstacles, I was trying to avoid getting stuck into one of the many ruts that are on this road. For the most part, I was able to make my way around them, but the further I drove up the mountain, the creepier it got. From what I know, this is a pretty peaceful area that's poppin' during the summer months, but that didn't change the fact that the place gave off Camp Crystal Lake vibes for the remainder of the drive. Fortunately for me, I did not run into any scary characters wearing an outdated hockey mask, wielding a rusty machete. You know what I mean.
Whew. So after a little bit of a rough drive, we're pretty close to that set of ruins here. Now I have the coordinates, and supposedly these ruins are somewhere up in those rocks behind me. And since we're here, there's a lot of little alcoves, especially right across from me here. So let's get the drone up in the air and see if we can find these ruins.
Quick disclosure I wanted to give on this video. Usually I do a small detailed background on my findings and talk about the who, what, where, how, and why. But due to the limited knowledge on this site, I did not want to reveal any information that may potentially give away this location. Sites like these are very delicate and have every right to be preserved for as long as possible. Sadly, there are those that don't share those same views, and it's unfortunate to say that some even seek amusement in the destruction of precious sites like these. And those people are called jackasses. Thanks for watching.